I think many, many years ago, I remember reading a book by, so it was 17 pages by, I guess, Alan Watts, who I met on his boat, and we used to go together in the city there. And it's called The Art of Meditation. And it was perfect. It could never be articulated better in eternity. And it's completely unnecessary. Meditation is simply being aware of who you are, of how the world affects you. There's no discipline involved. It's not late at night study. It's nothing else except being aware. And I'm speaking to all the mystics in the world, and there are many millions. Because it's ours to understand the rapture of God that we're born with, and the silliness and conceit of this world that is a hell, according to all the mystical traditions, right? It's the illusion, Maya and Sanskrit and all the Eastern traditions, it's the illusion. And you sit quietly and it becomes less solid and less solid and less real. And eventually it's imaginary, and you realize that the imaginary condition of it is projected by a force that we call Satan, the devil, and whatever words you want to use, it's not necessary. So meditation is understanding this, and that's it. Because you're already God. Whatever Godness is, whatever the purity of eternity is, you are that now. You were born that. You'll never be different. You're simply trying to understand and articulate for those around you who are in trouble, who are of a mystical nature, how to step out from it. So meditation is simply being aware. I've never done the disciplines. I've been involved in it. I backed up many people that at institutes or meditation studies or martial arts, whatever, all my life. And it's because there's nothing you have to do or undo about your spirituality. If you're spiritual, you're spiritual. So meditation is just being aware. It's a very healthy thing, I'll say, to write down whatever you're experiencing all the time, daily if you can. I remember when I was in the woods, I wrote something down for 5 minutes or 3 minutes every day at 3:15. I was rebuilding a home in the redwoods, and at the end of that 18 months alone, it was just a few minutes each day. I had magnificent book written that I called Heaven. And it's about mysticism. It's about you and I and God and eternity, joy and happiness and wonder and peace and fulfillment and decency and kindness more than anything else. Not being nice, nice is fear. It's kind. You have to be powerful, know who you are. Your center has to be like my buddy Master G here. He's an 8th degree in one, an 8th in martial arts, and he's as quiet as a church mouse. And as dangerous as a tank, but all sweetness. So when you're in this state of meditation, you're locked in with God in your gut, and you know that. And equally well, you understand that the great majority of people in the world are locked into that demonic force, whatever you want to call it. And so it becomes very subtle. So if you write down every day a few minutes what you've experienced that day, you'll be shocked that you will have a book, well articulated, magnificent, beautiful, poetic, decent, kind, and true, and it can be given to any friend that's spiritual that you like, and they'll be thrilled by it and say, you should publish this. But you don't need to publish it. It's published in heaven. It's published in you. It's published in God. Meditation is simply by opening, because no one will listen to you. I know more about listening than anyone who ever lived in this earth. I've studied it. I've taught people to listen quietly, non-evaluatively, be utterly quiet. Just be there. In other words, you can't make me react when I'm working with someone of the spiritual nature. I'm not to talk about listening to the game or someone's yip-yap, but when you're there to heal, and if you're spiritual, you'll find someone every day of your life. And it'll be worth 30 seconds listening, or 10 seconds, or an hour and a half. And it just happens that I don't hang a shingle, but I've done this every day since I was born. It's never not happened. Even when I'm going through hell, if there's a decent person boom, it's shut down, and I'm there for them. So to call it meditation or spirituality or discipline or anything else, it's an art form, yes. My dear friend Jessica here, she is a doctorate, I won't go into what, and all she wants to do is be an astrologer. Because she cares, because she has a heart, because she's decent, like my buddy Donna here. She just walked away from all the tirades going on downtown here and just walked off into the horizon, and now she's sweet without all the problematic nature of being part of the bureaucracy. So what I'm saying is, through writing down every day a few minutes, you'll walk away from this into a quiet land, a distant place off into the worlds beyond. There are many, 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 many worlds, and they're all beautiful and wonderful and divine and happy and free. I'm saying that, extrapolate that out to unimaginable territory, beyond love, beyond what anyone has ever thought God to be. And it's all yours. It is all mine. It's ours. It's no one else's. So find a way of communicating to yourself, whether writing, thinking each day, where you've gone, what you've gone through, and it'll become more and more subtle. I'm going to go right to it right now. As a mystic, as someone born illuminated, or illumined, and I know that everything is the dark force. Every face you've ever seen, every hand you've ever held. In other words, I'm moving out to even the nice areas. But beyond all that is, if I think about my teacher, Kathy, it's like finest human being I ever met. And just looking at her walk down in a bookstore, and she wasn't there. So what I saw was a little spiritual sense of unimaginable, indefinable humility. And a few weeks before that, the teacher told me I'd meet someone who would help me write the book, and then I met her. She's a genius, and typed it out, knocked it out in a few days, and she lived the same life I lived, just we're not here. The world never was. So Kathleen and I, through never seeing each other, we talk to each other daily. Do you understand? I've talked to every teacher you can ever think of. Of course, my mom, Rob's mom, Greg's parents are with me all the time, and his teachers, Ralph Castro, and he used to sit and talk with Bruce Lee all the time because they were teachers and they were his friend. And so I met Bruce in India in 71 when I ran a conference, and that would get your thought, but when you're mystical, it wouldn't touch you. When I met Bruce, it was nothing. It was just, oh, it's a nice kid. I don't know. And saw the movie a few years later. It was greatness, but that's the world. Understand what's being said? If you practice art, drawing, teaching, anything you do, the more you do it, the more you are, right? The more you research your soul's reactions to this world. First of all, knowing you're spiritual. Don't question that. If you're spiritual, you are spiritual. It's not something you attain to or get to. You know who you are in your heart. And if your life has been effed, then you know. And every spiritual person has been trashed from birth. My teacher Kathleen, or my dear friend Susan, who put together this book, After Time, who explains all this in very magnificent, beautiful, artistic, literary detail, but in a way that encapsulates, don't react to anything, but it covers everything. So in your spirituality, writing down the bones, you get it all out, think about it, or do it in your mind every day, and you'll have that, you'll have the Bible. The Bible is you. It's not someone else, it's not for someone else. Spirituality and God are not for Jesus Christ or Moses or King whatever or that from the great saints and sages of the ages. It's yours. You own spirituality. I own that is. But I've never said that till right now. And it's just for you to understand that we're There's nothing wrong with you. There's everything right with you. You are spiritual now. It's something, not something you attain to. Meditation is, or whatever you want to call it, reflection, contemplation, is just residing in that quiet place a little bit in the back of your thoughts, seeing what happened to you, what came at you, and eventually you'll see the most subtle aspects of your perception. And you'll get it all. You'll understand. You'll understand that the whole world is trash. It's a big trash heap. All the faces, places, times. A friend of mine wants me to go visit some family and here or there. And I'm like, no, I don't need to go. I don't want to go. I'm happy as I am. I don't need to partake in the everyday. I'm a human being. I need some connection with the world because I'm born to teach. If not, I could have stayed in the woods or jungles, wherever at different points in my life where I was happy. Very happy. Now I live in the middle of Redwood City just because I have to communicate to people. And that's your mission. You can communicate this decency, this wonder, this joy, this solidity of experience you have that's called God. It's an endless, infinite wonder. As soon as I say the word God, some people get upset, or this or religion, or the other week I mentioned a certain religion, it's ridiculous. It's infinite wonder you're going to have. It's falling in love with the dawn 1,000 times in the same moment. And the main point of this spiritual empowerment message today, or thought today, is that the world central, everything about it, is a highway to and from hell. Everything, every perception. This is what I want to get across today. I get quiet, there's only God, there's only openness, purity, wonder, decency, kindness. But every thought you'll have, even about the thoughts that seem right and real and good, they're part of the trap. It's called the snare of the devil in the old book. I have a tremendous regard for the Bible because I understand it mystically. I think Paul said that the Bible is written in a mystery. The mystery is, if you're spiritual, you'll see what I see. What was given to holy men in the deserts, written on leather or stone or wood or whatever, carved out and carried through all these years. In the same way in Tibet, they have old texts from thousands of years that are written, that are extrapolated out, spirituality, the things I'm talking about today, in a very elegant format and form and wording. It's just exquisite. But beyond all that is the experience of being the real you, and stepping and transcending beyond the everyday and the most subtle sense of the world being real. Everything in the world is fear-based, and you get very, very kind and gentle and sweet with yourself first. Forgive yourself, forget yourself, let go of yourself. And as I'm being very honest right now, God is now looking out my eyes. I never say anything like this. We talk to my friends. It's not about me. It's about whoever I'm with. I'm simply saying for you, that's what will happen. And you'll disappear back into the light from whence you come to where you will go. You are a holy personage. You're a high roller in a low rent neighborhood. The world really is a screwy place. In the scripture, Jesus said, if you're to love me, you must hate your life. Now, you do hate the life in the world, but it's written that if we would have heard the words originally, it would have been lighter than air. He would have spoke like Khalil Gibran, the greatest poet ever. I remember sitting in my mind with Khalil Gibran when he wrote The Prophet. I mean, if you're a mystic, Walt Whitman, whoever, any great person you could ever think, they were with me. That book I wrote in 76, 77. I was visited 6,000 times. I just probably was the number. I just feel, you don't think about stuff like that. It just happens. And so each one of them wrote a line in the book, or words, or paragraph, or whatever. And it's easy if you're easy with yourself. Forgive yourself, forget yourself, let go of yourself, and write down every day, because again, the basic, the most important fact of today is that no one has ever listened to you. I mean, listened like I will listen to you. When I have clients see me and I draw it out, I'll count sometimes, I'll just say, right now you're going to go to a deep state. I just have to say it. I have to count down. And in my home, in my living room, it's always been the presence of God. It's absolute stillness and quiet. And I've had people from all over the world, Muslims, this, that, the other, and they walk in and, oh, thank you for letting me enter your inner sanctum. You know, there's just a peace and a quiet. It's a temple. And I can't explain to my buddies, want me to go here or there, and I'll do whatever with my buddies because I love them, they're my friends, and then go home and it never happened. We're human beings, we have to have some contact because I have to do this mission of teaching, because you have to do this mission of teaching. You get quiet through this practice of meditation, of understanding your perception, and the main point is to know that everything, this gets very elegant on the devil's side of it, like all your thoughts and feelings and impressions that involve the world of separateness, of there being more than one body. It's like there's only the body of God, and it's mystical, and it's a spirit, and it's a presence, and it's you, it's yours. And you'll change overnight when you just remember this. And there's no remorse and regret about leaving your life behind. It's, you step through a doorway of endless light and kindness and warmth. God is very, very, very kind. I mean, more than a baby's first giggle. Imagine that. By a trillion times. That just indicates that there's something beyond. We all know this. There's this staging area when there's a birth or a death, and the mothers that birth children and all. Anyway, you always feel that presence at birth and at death. I mean, if you're not aware of your grandmom, your this or that that's passed, if you don't feel them every moment. I have a lot of combat veterans that I deal with that are my buddies, and we're all aware of the presence of our friends that have thus gone. They didn't go anywhere. No one ever died. You cannot die. You are forever. You are the peace and wonder of God, and there is a God. Through writing down the structure, the bones of what you've lived through day to day, every day for a few minutes. In a few months you'll have your own text. And you can call it by your name, or you can call it God. Identical. There's no this, that, or the other about it. I remember in my reverie sitting down with Khalil Gibran writing The Prophet. And you can do this with anyone. Walt Whitman, I used to walk with him to school, and St. John when I was a little boy. I remember all these. I'm being very honest on this. I rarely talk about myself, but it seems imperative for today because it's a very human thing. Meditation, God, spiritual awareness, integrity, decency, purity. It's Dag Hammarskjöld was the second. He was in charge of the United Nations after the Second World War, and he was magnificent. He originally he just wanted to bring peace around the world, and no one knew how mystical or spiritual he was until after he died. I mean, he was killed by one of the dictators, in Africa, that took his plane out. But he visited these people. I've been around these things, and some of us have been around stuff like that. These bad people. I grew up in the mob in Philly, and I thought they were bad, and then I met this and that and the other, and then I had to deal with certain other things and forces, and it's a very ugly world. There are people that are cold-blooded, beyond anything you think, and it's not a movie. And it's in every climate of the world. There are invisible armies. Today we have this or that, or there was the Taliban, and there are always revolting sections of any government, of any populace in the world. Greg comes from the Philippines, which is all my favorite tribe in the world. They're all very spiritual and grounded, and And they're free floating and work with each other, a lot of love, and it's no matter how beautiful it is. Like I remember being with the lamas in Tibet and all, and I could see certain ones that had a dark side to them. And I knew if you talked to the Dalai Lama back in the day, he would have said, yeah, his worst enemy is not the Chinese. It's like some another Lama from 1760 that went dark. And because it's these subtle things that get you. The world that seems to be is not the problem. That's the shadows on the wall that Plato talked about, and Socrates, and all these, they're the kabuki theater, shadows on the wall. That's not what's there. And so what I'm saying, every human perception you have about life in the world, that's the lie. Drop it. And saying this today, it'll help you to drop it more quickly, because it'll keep coming at you. And I had the worst in my life Monday, 3 days ago, the worst shock I've ever been through, something like that, through somebody I loved with all my heart and soul, went off the charts in something dumb, in the most inappropriate moment, when I was willing to take the first step after 78 years of this, of beginning my destiny, which I've known since a little boy, and just beginning it. And the worst person, the best person in the world came up with the most shocking, terrible moment for me. And it doesn't matter, because I knew what happened. It just that it caught me at the most sensitive moment I'd ever known in regards to my destiny. So everything that seems real will hurt you, will harm you. So you'll learn daily how to pull yourself out of circumstances and then use that to teach the next person. You'll always have things in your life that God will allow these things to happen. God means you. You knew all this before you were here. You gave yourself to it. It's a voluntary army of great, great, great divine heroes. We're all here. Forget all the writings about spirituality in the world and incarnations and this and that. We all dropped in at the same time for the same reason, to end this madness. We are a divine army of spiritual souls, and that's the God's truth. So when you look through all of it, history, this, that, recorded, well, it doesn't matter. This is what's happening. So say, going back to the Bible, it said in the beginning the Word was God. No, it doesn't say that. If you look at the original Aramaic, it says in a beginning. So I'm saying everything gets changed and switched around. So I'm just saying one out of 1,000 examples we can use. You can see how the world has subtly changed things. I like the St. James Bible, even though it tried to make the king beautiful, is because it had the sense, the poetic genius, to bring out the sense and thrill of the awe all spiritual people have in reflection at looking at that should not be named. You are a holy presence, born into a hell of your own volition. You have a purpose. And through daily writing down a little bit of this, you eventually all, because no one will listen to you, so you got to listen to you. You see what I'm saying? Somehow on your device, whatever, you got to turn everything down. You got to allow yourself to get bored now and then, and then all this will come there and you'll see it all. And that's what writing down is about. You get quiet enough, even if you're under combat conditions, you know what I mean? You'll be able to have enough moments, and even if it's a split second. I know, but the first time before I did something really serious, I had to look at God for a split second before I reacted, and in that split second you saw everything. And you knew you had to do what you have to do. You know, it's like a mom. There's nobody tougher in the world than a mom. It's my hero, my mother, is a kind, decent, brilliant, wonderful little 5'1" lady, is very beautiful. Everyone in love with her, and she was an angel known for her spirituality throughout Philadelphia, and everyone was in love with her. The owner of the teams and all that. It was funny because my dad was a bad guy. I mean, a badass. You mean that? And so she was safe, but it was fun. And point being, she was so sweet and kind and true, and had 6 kids, and all you ever got was love. And of course, the dad's got to go out and work 24 hours a day, so that's what he gives in nurturing, and that's so you don't take sides. when I say this, but you talk about Mother Bear, because you got, one day this woman who ran a gas station was a very tough lady, and she pushed my sister Geraldine, my older sister, and this is when I was just born, and my mom heard about it, and my mom walked over to the gas station, boom, and just clocked her. It's like, oh my God, no one could, the story went throughout South Philadelphia for a year. Anyway, so that's Mother Bear, that's the love you have for a child. I have that for you as a spiritual teacher. God has that for me, for us, for all of us. You will not be harmed in this process. You will be taken to the wall and beaten every day of your life, psychologically and emotionally. And you will love it, because each time it happens, like Monday was the worst I ever had, and I've been in everything you could ever dream. So it'll come to you at the worst moments, at the best moments, and you'll get something from it every time. And you'll use it for the next person you'll see, or 2 weeks later, someone will come into your life and go, oh, why did I go through that again, that same stupid thing? So God allowed that, meaning you inside yourself in your destiny pattern, allow that to happen so that this person that lives three doors down in your apartment house, well, you'll be able to help them through that, because it'll be fresh and real and vibrant to you, and you'll express it in a wonderful, healing manner to whoever that person is that shows up on your doorstep at that moment. And I guess that's all we have for today. It's just meditation means just daily figuring out what the hell happened. You can do it in 3 seconds, or you can write it down for a few minutes, or you can express it to a best friend. It's wonderful to have a spiritual buddy, someone like Donna, and someone like Jessica, with her doctorate and just brilliance, and she just wants to be an astrologer, but it's a deep, deep, deep study. I remember staying at the home of in Dehradun. He gave me my place for 5-6 weeks in Dehradun, in the mountains of the Himalaya mountains, and he was the dean of the Department of Astrology for the Hindu Benares University. And it's a clairvoyant, of course, and back in the day, everything spiritual back then, this is 50 years ago, was spiritual, and today India is getting, look like New York. It scares me. And when you're around people like that have studied life, it's rewarding and relaxing. Spend time around the mystics, the loving people, the kind people. We all have someone like that in our life, and we all have someone that practices witchcraft. We can see it as well, but the real witchcraft is very subtle and light. And you are a brilliant tactician of this war. Allow the soft, lighted touch of God to come through your mind and soul, and realize you're that, and realize you're God looking at all this. And so the body, the mind, the writing, the tools, the communication, the expression will come to you as you are, and we're all different. It's like an instrument. We're all different part of the orchestration of God that will transform this world to a higher place. In other words, the world will disappear in your thought by understanding the world is the temptation. When you love someone, they talk about true love, you'll love in a quiet way. My friend Kathy, I love in a quiet way, and it's so transcendent of love. My little friend Susan, who wrote After Time, that great book about this, or it's Robert Rosenberg author, but a great work of art that I put away, wrote it a few years ago, 10 years ago, and then put it away. She put it away. And now I'll let it out again. I knew it was for this time. You'll know everything. There's different stages in your life you'll be very, very clear on. Every intelligent person knows when you're 21, everything changes. And then when you're 28, you become mature. And then when you're 40, life begins. So I was born enlightened, but all those stages still happen to me. So not that I'm any better or worse than anything, because I'm really not anything to me, if that makes sense. And then when you're not anything, you traverse the endless ground of being called God. It's really wonderful to know who you are. So please write it down, think about it, contemplate, reflect. And know it's never you. And take responsibility for not being able to give enough for this one or that one. And then understand that it's because people think they're separate bodies, you could never do the complete right thing ever. In taking responsibility for someone you might have hurt, you realize the only way to get over and through that and bring that back around is to dispel the common thought that there are more than one body. There is only one body. It's the body of God. It's your soul. And so every conceivable aspect of being a human being in this world is the temptation. Take that home with you, think about you, and may God be with you every moment of this destiny pattern that you find yourself walking upon. God bless everything you are, and everything you do, and everything you think, and everything you feel. You are a holy personage, born into a hell, purposely to dispel the darkness. God is looking out from your eyes. And God will be looking out from your eyes evermore and evermore, forever and ever. God bless your destiny. Thank you for listening.